Welcome to 50 Nights of Fright. I'm Tommy, joined today with Rowan. Today's film is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Alright, Rowan, what did you think?
It was interesting. I hadn't ever watched the movie. I watched the musical, and it was incredibly different than I expected it to be. Really, it's pretty violent for an old black and white movie. I was not expecting it because older black and white movies are not usually that violent.
Yeah, you typically think movies of that age have a certain air of superiority to other movies. Like they're held to a higher standard. They're not going to be violent like modern movies. No, a lot of these movies in the 30s, there's a lot of violence. Like even with Phantom of the Opera, the one that we watched earlier was pretty violent still. So now, the pronunciation of his name, Jekyll.
Jekyll.
Did that surprise you? That's how
it did. The first time I'm like, okay, maybe the actor just said it wrong, and then they kept saying it.
Everyone pronounces it that way. So this movie has a lot of really incredible effects and shots, like that extended POV shot at the very beginning. This is actually one of the first movies, if not the first, to have like an extended POV shot where you're following the character first person like that, which I really love that.
I took note of that, and I took note that throughout the movie they went into POV shots every now and then, and I thought that was really cool.
So, what were some scenes that really stood out to you? I know you said you watched the musical. Is there like a lot of difference between the musical version and this, or?
The musical version was a lot, like, it had more of the internal aspect for like the confrontation between Jekyll and Hyde. So there was a lot of internal monologue compared to this that didn't have a lot of internal monologue. You just kind of had to watch it all happen, which I thought was really interesting.
What I always find really interesting is how different the stage adaptation, the film adaptation, all of them are from the actual book, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That is actually set up more like a mystery. You don't know that they're the same person. But unfortunately, because it's told through Jekyll's lawyer, the book is, you don't really see a whole lot of Dr. Jekyll in the actual book, or even really Mr. Hyde. You're just following the story along with
Interesting.
Which, it didn't make for a very interesting play because it was adapted into a play at first.
Right.
So they had to change it up. And then when they made the movie, they based it off of the play and then the musical version off of both. This version of the movie is kind of responsible for a lot of the later adaptations. You'll see a lot of the movies that we watch in the 30s were the building blocks for most later adaptations of those same characters. Let's talk about the special effects makeup.
Yes.
Was that not an impressive?
It was really impressive, and I noticed, like, even at the beginning, like the first shots when you first see Jekyll, like you can see he's wearing makeup, and I'm like, okay, they're going to do something with that because no other male character has such prominent makeup on. So it's like, okay, they're gonna do something.
Yeah. It was really neat because the actor Fredric was wearing different layers of makeup, and they were like colored different. So in camera, what they would do is they would put like different filters and lenses on the camera, so that way you would just see the lighting change and how he turned from the handsome Dr. Jekyll to the more monstrous Mr. Hyde there in camera, because there wasn't computers back then. You couldn't, just fix it to like, oh yeah, we'll just throw a CG character in there and, turn it into a giant pink ape monster. I'm looking at you, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Was there any scene in here that stood out the most to you, or anything that you found particularly horrifying?
At first, Mr. Hyde, he was just doing generically kind of not great people behavior, like not tipping the wait staff or tripping somebody or whatever. And then he took a completely left turn into completely abusing that poor burlesque dancer.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So like that sudden shift was quite noticeable and jarring to me.
Now, to play devil's advocate for a moment, Dr. Jekyll does steal a child's crutches. So I feel like he's not also a great guy.
Was he stealing or convincing her that she could walk on her own?
I don't know, but I mean, it's still a gray area. So I've made the joke in the past about how this is the this movie is kind of the first example of an incel horror movie villain. What do you? Obviously, that's not true, especially if you read the book. It's about separating man's desires from rational mind, being able to, be more efficient, effective with your rational thinking mind, not guided by those the id, the need. Did you pick up on any of that kind of psychological?
I did. It was like a battle of good and evil within oneself, and he was trying to push down all of the unsavory or bad parts, and it seemed like the more he tried to hide that, it just kind of festered and exploded out of him into something he couldn't control.
Well, I'm of the mindset that I think Jekyll knew what he was doing as Hyde. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
There's not this sudden shift like, oh, I'm not responsible for this other self's actions. It's, I want to be free of the consequences.
Right,
I want
he was
to do
using
this.
it as an excuse to act that way.
So he's not a good person to begin with.
No.
And just the Hyde persona he used was just the tool to dive into that unsavory desires he had.
Right.
So if you had to give this a rating, scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 100, whatever, what would you give it?
It's a pretty solid movie. I give it an 8, 7 or 8.
Okay.
It's pretty solid, especially since, again, it surprised me with some of the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, some of those scenes I would expect in more modern depictions. I was not expecting that out of this.
It's a fun time. I'm always happy to revisit it. Do you think this belongs in the history of horror?
Absolutely.
All right, that's good to hear.
The most horrific thing is a person.
Yeah. There are no monsters except those inside us all along.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us once again on 50 Nights of Fright. Join us again tomorrow when we watch Boris Karloff in The Mummy.